Hi, I'm Robin.
And I'm Chris. Together we're the Gen X couple.
Guys.
Take one. Hello, everyone.
Today we are going to dive deep into one of the most famous mysteries of all time, Atlantis. You know, the legendary lost city that's said to have been a wealthy, technologically advanced civilization that vanished beneath the waves. Whether it is real, symbolic, or somewhere in between, Atlantis has captivated people for thousands of years.
Yeah, so we're going to look at the original story from Plato and explore the historical and geographical theories, examine modern interpretations, and talk about how Atlantis has influenced literature, movies, and pop culture. But by the end, you'll see why a city that might never have existed still inspires imagination.
Twice.
I think you've given me the hard one.
I try not to, but these are words I don't feel like you should be tripping over either. Anyway, so to understand Atlantis, we need to start with Plato, who was one of the great philosophers of ancient Greece. He lived from 427 to 347 BCE, which was a period of intense political and intellectual activity in Athens. Plato was a student of Socrates, and much of his writing focuses on philosophy, politics, and ethics. But he also used stories, myths, and allegories to illustrate his ideas.
So the story of Atlantis appears in two of Plato's dialogues, Timaeus and Critias. In Timaeus, Atlantis is introduced as a tale that Critias recounts. So Plato presents it as a real place in history, but he frames it as a cautionary tale. So according to the story, Atlantis existed 9,000 years before Plato's time. That would place it around 11,000 years ago from today. It was supposedly located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which we now call the Strait of Gibraltar.
Gibraltar?
And the Atlantic Ocean.
You know that, come on. Plato describes Atlantis as a powerful and wealthy island nation. The city had concentric rings of water and land with bridges and tunnels connecting them. At the center was a grand hill where the royal palace stood, surrounded by temples and gardens. The Atlanteans had access to advanced engineering, metals, and agriculture. They also had a standing army, ships, and a navy, which allowed them to exert influence over surrounding regions.
So the story emphasizes that the Atlanteans started as virtuous, wise, and just people, but over time they became greedy, ambitious, and morally corrupt. This moral decline angered the gods, and according to Plato, Zeus decided to punish them. The gods supposedly caused the island to sink in a single day and a night of cataclysm, leaving no trace of the
Cataclysm
behind.
So it sounds like a fever dream, right? But anyway, Plato's dialogues are careful to frame the story as a lesson as well as history. Critias, one of the speakers, says the story comes from Solon, a 6th century BCE Athenian statesman who supposedly heard it from Egyptian priests. This lineage gave the story a sense of authority and mystery. The Egyptian connection also added to the allure of advanced knowledge, culture, and morality lessons being passed down from an ancient civilization. You've got me tripping over my words.
So scholars note that Plato might have used Atlantis as an allegory for political philosophy. He contrasts the ideal society like his fictional Atlantis at its peak with the decline in corruption and destruction. In other words, it wasn't just a lost city, it was a story about human nature, hubris, and the consequences of moral decay.
And despite this moral framing, Plato includes incredibly detailed descriptions. He mentions the size of the island, the canals, the types of metals like orichalcum, and the layout of the cities. These details have fueled speculation for centuries, which, before I continue, I have to say that anybody with an imagination can probably do this. People have wondered, did Plato invent these as part of the story? Ahem. Or was he recording some memory of a real place that existed long ago? How would he know?
He knows. And another interesting point is the scale Plato gives. Atlantis is described as being larger than Libya and Asia combined, which would make it massive by any standard. Some think he exaggerated to make a point, where others hope it hints at a forgotten landmass, perhaps submerged by rising oceans after the last ice age.
Plato also mentions the social and political organization of Atlantis. He describes a royal lineage, laws, and moral expectations. Initially, the Atlanteans lived in harmony with gods and with each other. But when their moral compass faltered, the collapse followed. Which doesn't that sound a lot like what's in the Bible? Just a different setting?
Maybe.
Just saying. The philosophical lesson is clear. A civilization's prosperity depends on ethics and virtue, not just a wealth of technology.
And finally, it's important to remember that Plato never claimed to have visited Atlantis. The story comes through secondhand accounts, making it both intriguing and frustrating for historians and archaeologists. Was it a real place, a distorted memory, or a past civilization, or entirely fictional? The question has kept generations searching and imagining what could be found.
So, in short, Plato's account provides both the backbone of the Atlantis legend and a philosophical warning. It's detailed enough to feel real, yet framed with moral lessons that transcend history. That combination of detail and allegory is what made Atlantis one of the most enduring and compelling stories in human history. Is it human history if it never existed in the first place?
Yes. That's
I'm
a good
just saying.
point. That's a good point.
But now that we've gone deep into Plato's story, let's look at some of the other theories about where, if anywhere, Atlantis might have been. Since Plato's account, countless scholars, explorers, and enthusiasts have tried to match his descriptions with real world locations.
And one of the most widely discussed possibilities is Santorini, also
Santorini,
called Dera, in the Aegean Sea, around 1600 BC, 3,600 years ago. There was a massive volcano eruption that destroyed most of the island and caused the collapse of the Minoan civilization on nearby Crete. Some historians think this catastrophic event could have inspired Plato's story, a flourishing civilization destroyed almost overnight. And archaeologists have found evidence of advanced architect, frescoes, and trade networks there, which fits the idea of a wealthy, sophisticated society.
And another candidate is southern Spain near Doana National Park in Andalusia. Researchers have pointed to ancient riverbeds, submerged plains, and evidence of rising sea levels as a possible location for a lost civilization. Some suggest that Plato's description of the concentric rings of water and land might reflect the geography of this area before flooding events.
And there are also theories out there placing Atlantis somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, which points to off the coast of the Bahamas or near the Azores Islands,
which is Portugal.
And some sonar mapping has revealed underwater formations with unusual structures that some claim could be remnants of an ancient city, while most geologists and archaeologists argue that these are natural formations and the images are keeping imagination alive for treasure hunters and explorers.
Another extreme theory puts Atlantis in Antarctica, suggesting that shifting continents, rising seas, and ice coverage could have hidden an ancient civilization beneath sheets of ice. This idea is considered fringe, but it's part of the broader Atlantis mythos, especially in books and media that link it to lost continents like Lemuria or Mu.
Yeah, in some theories, it's located in the Caribbean. And it's a challenge that is Plato's account is intentionally vague in terms of coordinates,
Maybe because he made it up in the first place.
and he gives distance and sizes that are difficult to match with modern geography. For example, he claims Atlantis was larger than Libya and Asia combined, which no single landmass fits today.
Right. And part of the intrigue is that many of these theories overlap with real historical disasters. Tsunamis. I didn't put that in your dialogue because
Thank
he
you.
would have said tsunamis. He would have pronounced the T. Like we're talking tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, and rising sea levels that were common. And it's possible that Plato's story is a combination of memory, exaggeration, and moral dilemmas. The Egyptian priests he cites also might have described ancient floods, destroyed cities, or vanished cultures, which Plato then adapted into a story of moral decay and divine punishment.
Yeah, and those interpretations that Atlantis wasn't a land at all. It was more symbolic rather than literal. So some scholars argue that Plato's purpose wasn't to describe a physical location at all, but to illustrate the dangers of hubris, the rise and fall of civilizations, and the moral responsibilities of rulers. So in this view, every theory about a real location is just a speculation built on the details of a philosophical tale.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense.
Yeah.
But still, the enduring fascination with Atlantis comes from that mix of detail, adventure, and moral lessons. And whether it was real or not, people have been mapping, searching, and imagining lost cities for thousands of years.
Yeah, there's myths out there, and the possibilities are endless. From Santorini's volcano ruins to underwater formations in the Atlantic, every theory keeps legend alive, and every new discovery sparks more speculation.
Yeah, so if Atlantis really existed, what kind of civilization are we talking about? So, like we said, Plato described it as far beyond anything of its own time. According to him, they had massive cities built, like we said, with the concentric rings of water and land, bridges, tunnels, and it wasn't just impressive architecture, it implied advanced engineering knowledge.
Yeah, and that leads to the construction materials and metals. So Atlantis supposedly had access to abundant natural resources, including gold, silver, and a mystery metal called orcalium, which Plato describes as a second in value only to gold. And some researchers have tried to identify it with various copper alloys or even ancient brass, but its exact composition remains unknown.
You know why? Because it was made up. Just like they made up. What's the thing they use in the Marvel movies? Like, what's Wolfman? What's his name?
Vibranium?
Yeah, exactly. That's made up too. You know how you can just make stuff up when you write a story?
Man, that's Black Panther.
No, it's not Black Panther. The guy
Oh,
with
Wolverine.
the claws. Wolverine. Thank you. I was close. But isn't he made of that? Isn't that what they put in him to make his
Yes,
claws?
but Black Panther has it on his claws.
Oh, well, I wasn't talking about him though, because I forgot he even existed. I was talking about the Wolfman.
Yes,
What's his
Wolverine.
name?
Wolverine.
Yeah. See? But anyway, point made. Thank you. Beyond metals, Plato implied technological sophistication in agriculture, water management, and urban planning. They built canals to bring seawater into the city centers. They irrigated farmland and maintained large palaces and temples. That level of planning would have required organization, labor management, and knowledge of hydraulics, which were all too advanced for the supposed time period of 11,000 years ago. Although, when was ancient Egypt? How many thousands of years ago was that? Because they were pretty organized back then. Was this before, supposedly?
This is before Egypt, yeah.
Because they had the technology and the organization down, and that was however many years ago that was.
Well, maybe the Athenians built the pyramids.
Maybe.
So there's even some theories out there that Atlantis had energy sources or machines that we don't even understand at all. This idea appears in the speculative archaeology and popular books, often linking Atlantis to a mystical or lost technology. But while there's no evidence for this, it's still a very part what keeps Atlantis fascinating and alive.
And it wasn't just the physical technology either. Plato emphasized that the Atlanteans had a integral, that's not the word I'm trying to say. They had a social and political structure. Initially, they lived in harmony, guided by ethical principles and justice. Kings ruled specific regions of the island, and there were laws meant to prevent abuse of power. The moral and ethical systems were considered as important as any engineering or military power.
Yeah, this combination of advanced technology and moral decay.
Bless you.
Thank you.
You're not supposed to sneeze while we're
I know.
recording. How dare you?
Is central to the legend and a civilization at the height of achievement brought down by hubris.
Yeah, and some writers extend these ideas into science fiction and pseudo archaeology. They imagine Atlanteans with crystal-based energy, advanced navigation techniques, or even flying machines. And while there's no historical evidence for such claims, they illustrate how the legend of Atlantis has captured the imagination for millennia.
So yeah, even if Plato invented it as a philosophical story, the level of details suggests he either had a remarkable imagination or was drawing from older tales of ancient civilizations lost to natural disasters.
I think a lot of people are born with very active imaginations. Look at the lady who made Harry Potter, or Lord of the Rings. Like, all these people had incredible imaginations.
Yes.
So that's a thing. But anyway, whether factual, exaggerated, or entirely allegorical, I can't talk, the notion of a civilization with unmatched knowledge and capabilities is part of what makes Atlantis so compelling.
Yes, and we're going to move on to the modern interpretations in pop culture of Atlantis that are a perfect blend of wonder, mystery, and cautionary lessons.
Yeah, from books to movies to TV and even video games, Atlantis has captured imaginations literally for centuries, for millennia. This is you.
Oh. So one of the earliest pop cultures depicts culture comes from literature. Writers like Julius Verne
Jules.
and Edgar Rice Burroughs imagine lost civilizations with advanced technology and hidden treasures. Atlantis was portrayed as a part of a adventure, mystery, and often danger. These early fictional accounts took Plato's idea and expanded them into the full worlds that readers could explore in their minds.
Yeah, and even my beloved Disney made a movie called Atlantis, The Lost Empire, which came out in 2001. And that presents a sprawling city with futuristic machines powered by crystals, giant statues, and advanced civilization that could have been centuries ahead of its time. And then Journey to the Center of the Earth and similar films like that reference Atlantis, or quote-unquote lost cities, as mystical and technologically advanced. And even earlier, there were silent and black and white films from the early 20th century that occasionally hinted at sunken civilizations, drawing inspiration from the Atlantis myths.
And TV also has played a role. A series like Stargate Atlantis, which aired from 2004 to 2009, imagined Atlantis as a city with advanced alien technology hidden under the ocean.
Have you ever seen that? That seems like something up your alley.
My brother Michael has. He
Oh, okay.
loved all the Stargates.
We should have had him here, and he could have talked about this.
So here the legend becomes a science fiction story, combining Plato's original moral and technological ideas with futuristic adventure and interstellar exploration. And even shows like Scooby-Doo or cartoons occasionally reference lost cities of Atlantis.
I don't remember those.
Yeah, I don't remember them either.
And then there are some video games like Age of Mythology and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which feature Atlantean lore, mysterious ruins, and powerful artifacts. The city is often depicted as technology and magically advanced, with crystal energy, traps, and puzzles. And even though these are purely fictional, they continue the tradition of imagining a civilization beyond its time.
And there's even pop music and art have also referenced Atlantis. Bands, album covers, and songs sometimes use the myth as a metaphor for lost love, lost civilizations, or the consequences of human hubris. Atlantis becomes a symbol, not just a place, and an ideal, not a cautionary tale or a mystery wonder.
I think one reason Atlantis remains so popular in modern culture is the combination of the mystery, the storytelling, and the lost technology. It's flexible, so you can make it anything you want. You can make it a city of moral virtue, a dystopian civilization, a high tech utopia, or just a cautionary tale about human greed. It's endlessly adaptable.
Yeah, there's documentaries, TV specials, YouTube channels
Yeah.
that regularly explore supposed Atlantis locations from Santorini to the Azores to the Caribbean to Antarctica. And while there's no verified evidence of the city, the hunt itself fuels fascination and keeps the story alive in public imagination.
So we've talked about Plato's story, possible locations, and modern culture. But what do historians, archaeologists, and scientists say? Many remain skeptical about the very existence of Atlantis.
So, for starters, there's no independent historical record of Atlantis outside of Plato's writing. No ancient Egypt texts, Greek records, or archaeological finds from the supposed time period, roughly 11,000 years ago, confirm the existence of a massive island civilization. For most scholars, this is a big red flag.
Yeah, and most skeptics, myself included, pretty much agree that Plato invented Atlantis just to tell the story, to teach lessons about morality, leadership, rather than provide a literal history of a sunken city. And there, it's a story meant to feel realistic. It's not evidence of a real place.
And others suggest that the natural disasters or historical events may have inspired the story, but were exaggerated or combined into a myth.
Yeah, and despite all the skepticism, the fascination with Atlantis endures. People are drawn to stories of lost civilizations because they capture our curiosity, imagination, and desire for adventure.
Yeah. Even in modern times, purported discoveries of Atlantean ruins were underwater formations in the Bahamas. These are maybe interpreted as proof, but scientists argue that there's no verified human construction here.
Yeah, and Atlantis isn't just a story of an ancient civilization and lost continents. It's full of quirky, fascinating tidbits that have kept people talking for centuries. So let's dive into a couple of the fun facts that make this legend even more intriguing.
So, first, did you know that the first maps showing Atlantis didn't appear until the 16th century, long after Plato's dialogues were written? Cartographers like Abraham Ortelis and others included it on a world map as a possible location of a sunken island based purely on legend and speculation.
And another fun fact is about Edgar Cayce, who's often called the sleeping prophet. So early in the 20th century, he claimed that Atlantis had advanced technology and that survivors of the civilization had migrated to Egypt, bringing knowledge of agriculture, architecture, and spirituality. And while there's no proof of that, his ideas influenced a lot of the modern esoteric and New Age beliefs about Atlantis.
And Atlantis has also inspired literature and music.
Oh, we said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some enthusiasts have even claimed to have found Atlantean artifacts or ruins underwater. I don't know if we mentioned this a few minutes ago because I already forgot, but in the Caribbean there are formations off the coast of the Bahamas that are often called the Bimini Road, which some interpret as remnants of streets or walls. And geologists argue that these are natural limestone formations, but they've kept Atlantis believers exploring for decades.
So, finally, one fun fact for history buffs. So, even though Plato never claimed to have seen Atlantis himself, the story comes from Egyptian priests through Solon, and this was passed down orally before reaching him. So, this makes it one of the earliest examples of how oral history and storytelling can evolve into a legend over centuries.
Yeah, so what do you guys think? What do you think, Christian? Do you think it's real or fake?
I think it's real, and I think it's under Antarctica.
Okay. How would they have lived in that climate, though?
No, because of
The
the
Ice Age.
changes. Yeah, the changes, like
It
the
wasn't always
land
cold
movement.
up there?
No, the land movements.
Oh,
You know
you
how
mean like
like
when Pangea
yeah,
separated?
Pandria septic. Because I don't think the time frame Plato is using is correct. I think it was older.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. And I think he made the whole thing up as a writer who's invented entire towns. Like literally, somebody with a vivid imagination can certainly write a story like that. Like I said, I used Harry Potter and the Hobbit guy. What's his name? But look at the Game of Thrones guy. I mean, these people
Yes.
have created entire worlds,
They
and these
have.
are incredible
Yes.
storytellers. So we'll never know. We will never know in our lifetime.
We might find it in a lifetime.
Maybe the younger kids listening, not in our lifetime. This is never going to be found. People have been out searching. I've seen so many specials on the Discovery Channel.
Yes.
The Azores, I think, is another one. I know they're looking at the Caribbean, but outside of the Azores, which is Portugal, there's formations under the ground. And maybe there was a lost city. Was it Atlantis? But it's very possible that there's sunken cities because
Yeah.
the oceans have changed, the continents have shifted. It's probable, not even possible, it's probable. But was it Atlantis? Although the Egyptians were very ahead of their time. We
They were.
still cannot replicate how they built
The
the pyramids
pyramids.
to this day. And I think we're pretty technologically advanced right now,
Yeah.
but we couldn't replicate building a pyramid. So
Yeah.
you could ask my favorite guy, Giorgio Tsoukalos, what he thinks, and he would tell you that aliens came to the earth. I don't know if I believe that either, but I do love that guy and I love his passion.
Yes.
If somebody were to ask me if I could have lunch with anybody, I would pick him because
Yeah.
I just want to listen to him. It's his passion. It's captivating.
It is, and it's real life. We've seen him talk
Yes,
in real life.
yes.
And he's just the same
just as passionate.
on TV in real life.
Yeah, and we've met a couple of people like that in real life, and those types of people that are so enraptured and passionate and just joyously happy with what they're talking about, you feel it.
Yes.
It like radiates to you. We've talked about this, but we experienced that in Key West. That guy that gave us a bike tour
Yeah.
was so happy and so joyful
was.
and just so utterly, he was happy down to the purest form of happiness. And that radiated, and we were happy. We were so
Yes.
happy because he was so happy. Like, you can feel it when other people are genuinely passionate about what they're talking about. And he told us stories about Key West with such vivid descriptions. And there's no other word other than passion. I know I've said it so many times, but like, you feel it. And that guy, Giorgio Tsoukalos, talks about aliens in that fashion. And I would love to have lunch with him and just hear him talk about his theories, even though I've seen every episode of Ancient Aliens and I
Yes.
know these theories. But it's just the happiness. It's just a feeling of happiness. There's a guy in Nashville he's the one that gave us the tour of the Elvis studio.
Okay.
It was a bus tour, and we left from the Country Music Hall of Fame, and then we went to I think it was called Studio B or something, and it's where Elvis recorded some of his songs, which was incredible.
Yes.
We stood in
In
the
the
spot
spot
where
where
Elvis
Elvis
Presley
was.
stood. That's incredible. That was incredible to
Yeah.
know, like, he was there. He's one of the biggest icons of all time. Well,
Yeah.
not of all time, but
He's
probably
up
of all
there.
time. He's up there. He's everybody knows Elvis.
Yeah.
And we stood where he stood, and that was incredible. That was really cool. That was one
Yes.
of the highlights of that Nashville trip. But anyway, that kid, he was a kid too. He was like, I asked him too because he was so passionately
Yeah.
happy, and he was just thrilled to be talking about Elvis and about the studio and the history of the studio. And I asked him how old he was because he looked young, and I think he said he was like 22 or 23. But he also radiated
Yes.
just that sense of joy and elation. He was just so happy to be telling us.
He was.
And I love that. And those are the only people we've ever run into like that. But anyway, we got way off track. And
I've had a couple of nephews being just as passionate
about Pokemon cards.
Pokemon cards.
Well, actually, Jared's the same way. Our middle child, he can talk about Pokemon. Actually, Asa and Brady, are they the only two Pokemon fans? I don't know if there's any more, but I know Brady
Brady
and
and
Asa
Linda.
are like super into Pokemon.
Yeah. They can talk to you for
Jared
hours.
is super into Pokemon. He's got some rare cards too, and we're going to Japan. You won't hear this until after we've gotten back from Japan. But one of the highlights of Jared's trip is going to be going to the Pokemon Center because he's going to load up on Japanese. Maybe we should come back with some Japanese Pokemon cards, and we can maybe get some Go-Gets, or maybe we can get some gardening done in exchange for some Pokemon cards.
Gardening.
Maybe we
can
can
get some
do
banana
some
bread.
bartering or bribing. Oh, your sister, Robin, if you're listening to this, she makes the best banana bread.
She
And actually,
does.
I don't know if she might have passed that down to Daisy and Lucy because they're old enough to bake now. But the Martin family in Connecticut makes phenomenal banana bread. It's the frosting.
And Chloe's key lime pie.
Well, I don't think Chloe is into Pokemon, and
No,
I don't know.
Is it Chloe?
It's Chloe.
Yeah, Chloe.
I don't know if any of Robin's. My sister-in-law is Robin. I know we've talked about this. She's also Robin, but I don't know if any of her kids are into Pokemon. Luke might be. He's of the age, but I don't know if he's into Pokemon or not because I haven't heard anything out of that camp about Pokemon.
Yeah.
I just know Asa and Brady are very passionate about Pokemon. But anyway, yeah, we should bring back some like crab leg flavored Kit Kats or something when we go to Japan, and we can barter or we can get some of these jobs done that we just don't want to do around the house. We can have your brothers or sisters drop off their kids for an afternoon.
Yeah.
We can put them to work and then we can give them awesome prizes. I feel like I just
That's
solved one of life's great problems for us.
Yes.
Anyway, the Rubik's Cube challenge is still on the table.
It is. We haven't got a response yet.
Yeah. Not yet.
Not yet.
Well, actually, you guys won't hear this till August. We may have a winner to announce. We're recording this now. We're recording way early because we've got a couple of busy months coming up. We've got a couple of trips coming up. Nathan is going to be graduating high school. Oh my God, the baby. So we've got a lot of stuff coming up. Oh, New Hampshire. We're going to New Hampshire too. That's coming up before this too. So we'll see all the nieces and nephews there. Maybe by the time... Oh, when's that episode? Actually, the episode for the Rubik's Cube challenge won't go live until after. It won't go live till August. So
okay.
So they won't know about any of this. So we can do whatever we want. We can get some late August gardening.
Yeah. Maybe
in exchange for some super cool Pokemon cards or a Kit Kat that's flavored like broccoli. Don't even know what they have. I'm just excited. But all right, you guys, that's going to do it.
We'll see you later, alligator.
In a while, crocodile.